There is no way you'll be able to reach your point of financial independence if you cannot save and invest large portions of your income. So if you have very little left over after your expenses, I don't care how much money you're making, it's going to be impossible for you to reach your target net worth. So in this video, we'll talk about why we buy things we don't need and how to change that. You'll notice the video is titled, Why We Buy Things We Don't Need. Because we're talking about things here, I'm not talking about experiences. But here's a key point. I believe that most people probably can reach a point of financial independence in their lives. They just spend their money on things they don't need, and they don't realize it. So the question is, why do we buy things we don't need? Well, it probably has a lot to do with the hang-up in our psychology. I think many of us, unfortunately, struggle with low self-esteem issues. Probably a lot of that stems from our childhood. And we buy things we don't need because we're constantly seeking validation and approval from other people. And we're born into a world that just does not do us a whole lot of favors. You're born into a system where people are constantly comparing themselves, their self-worth, to others, and there are an endless quest for validation from their peers. Our parents were constantly comparing us to other kids. Our peers are constantly comparing themselves to us, right? There's some belief systems that even teach that you're unworthy of a higher power's love and approval, and that you're constantly in need of that validation and that approval. And of course, the advertising industry, especially music and movies and definitely social media, has bombarded us with this idea that you're just not good enough. Good enough compared to exactly what standard, no one actually knows. So all of this is ingrained into our DNA, and it's really just beaten into us over several years. Now, about 100 years ago, Sigmund Freud made a pretty profound connection between the mask that many of us wear as adults to the treatment that we received as children. From his point of view, many of us are physically adults, but are still children psychologically. We find ourselves still grappling with the same issue. In this case, it's manifesting as our compulsion to buy things just to get validation or approval from other people. Now, that said, I'm encouraged that our society is beginning to seriously question this way of life because, frankly, a lot of these ideas just don't make any sense, right? How can having a certain house make you better or worthier than another person, right? How can driving a certain car make you better or worthier than another person? And we can go on and on like this, but you get the idea. The bottom line is that most of us grew up in a society in which we were constantly questioning our self-worth. And one of the ways that we cope with this is that we buy things to seek validation from other people. So it stands to reason that if you were to work on the psychological hang-up, to deliberately work on and cultivate a healthier self-esteem, well, you could stop the cycle. You could stop buying things that you don't need to impress other people and to fit in with your peers. Now, I'm not a trained psychiatrist. I'm not offering or recommending mental health counseling here. But this concept at least, is going to be a large part of the mindset I want you to develop here at ConCap. I want you to get to the point where whether other people around you are buying this or that, it virtually makes no difference to you. You're going to save, you're going to invest, you're going to stay the course and stay firm, and you'll likely reach your financial independence. And if you're, believe it or not, going to walk this road, it's probably going to be alienating because you'll probably get judgment from your peers. When I was on my journey, I remember that I used to take my lunch to work every day. I mean, brown bag every day. And I remember almost everybody else that I was working with, they used to go out to eat. They used to dine out every day. And I remember actually one day I was the only one in the cafeteria. Everybody else had gone out. But I also realized something much more important. that by eating out every single day at work, it was going to cost me between $5,000 to $10,000 a year. Now, maybe that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but over 10 years, that's $50,000 to $100,000. Over 20 years, that's $100,000 to $200,000. My point is that it adds up. And I have a feeling that many of those same people who are eating out every single day, they're probably doing the same thing. And they probably have not been able to reach their point of financial independence either. Right? They'll upgrade their cars every couple of years, but guess what? They'll always have a car payment. Meanwhile, the people walking this road, we don't need a car every couple of years. We'll pay it off. We'll keep it for a while. In fact, I've kept mine for more than 10 years now. And I've probably saved a lot of money because I did that. And if you do the same for a car, for a house, for clothes, for eating out, things like that, you'll stop buying things you don't need, and you'll likely save a lot more too. Thanks for watching. If you like this content and found it helpful, feel free to share this with your friends and family. And don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you get notified of new videos as they're released. And if you've made up your mind, you've decided you want to become a client and start on your road to financial independence, head on over to our website and fill out the requirements form. The URL is listed in the description below. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.